Captain Marcus Chen adjusted his collar as he walked through the pristine corridors of the Galactic Trade Station Omega-7. The massive space station orbited the neutral world of Xerion Prime, serving as a meeting point for dozens of alien species who conducted business across the galaxy. Marcus represented Earth's newest trading venture, carrying samples of human-made goods that might interest the wider galactic community. What made Marcus different from other human ambassadors wasn't his diplomatic training or his extensive knowledge of alien cultures. It was the small, seemingly harmless creature that followed him everywhere he went. The creature looked like nothing more than an ordinary house cat from Earth. Gray fur, bright green eyes, and a tendency to purr when content. Most aliens who saw it assumed it was some kind of primitive companion animal, barely worth a second glance. The cat's name was Shadow, and Marcus had rescued it from a shelter on Mars Colony 3 years ago. What the aliens didn't know, what even most humans didn't understand, was that Shadow represented something far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. Marcus entered the main trading hall, a vast circular chamber with a transparent dome that showed the swirling colors of the nebula beyond. Representatives from various species had set up booths displaying their wares. The tall insect-like Cathera clicked their mandibles as they examined crystalline structures. The blue-skinned Atlanteans floated in their water-filled suits, communicating through bioluminescent patterns on their skin. Near the center, the proud Draconian Empire had erected an impressive display of their military technology. Shadow trotted beside Marcus, tail swishing with casual interest. Several aliens noticed the small creature and exchanged what Marcus assumed were amused comments in their native languages. A few Cathera made high-pitched sounds that their translators converted to laughter. "Greetings, human Marcus," came a deep, rumbling voice. Marcus turned to see Commander Thrix approaching, a massive reptilian being from the Draconian Empire. Thrix stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in dark scales that seemed to absorb light. His species had conquered 17 star systems through superior military might, and had never encountered a force they couldn't overcome. "Commander Thrix," Marcus replied with a respectful nod. "I was hoping we might discuss some trade possibilities." Thrix's yellow eyes glanced down at Shadow, who had settled into a sitting position and was calmly cleaning his paw. "I see you brought one of your primitive pets. How quaint. We Draconians have heard that humans form emotional attachments to lower life forms." Marcus smiled politely, though something in his expression suggested hidden knowledge. "Shadow is indeed special to me. He's been my companion for quite some time. Does it serve any purpose?" Thrix asked, genuine curiosity mixing with condescension. "Our intelligence reports indicate that human pets provide no practical function beyond emotional comfort." Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted from across the trading hall. A group of Zentorian merchants, known throughout the galaxy for their aggressive business practices, had cornered a small delegation of peaceful Alari traders. The Zentorians stood 7 feet tall with heavily muscled bodies and bone ridges protruding from their foreheads. They were speaking loudly, their translators converting their words into threats about territorial disputes and trade route violations. The lead Zentorian, whose scarred face spoke of countless battles, grabbed one of the small, bird-like Alari by the arm. "Your people think they can undercut our prices and steal our customers?" he snarled. "We've eliminated entire species for less. Station security, consisting of robotic sentries programmed to maintain order, moved to intervene. But the Zentorians had come prepared. One of them produced a device that emitted a high-frequency pulse, and all nearby security robots immediately shut down. The situation escalated quickly. More Zentorians emerged from their ship, carrying weapons despite the station's strict no-arms policy. They had clearly planned this confrontation, intending to make an example of the Alari in front of all the other traders. Marcus watched the scene unfold with apparent calm, but his hand moved almost unconsciously to rest near Shadow's head. The cat's ears had perked up, and its green eyes fixed on the Zentorian leader with an intensity that seemed unusual for such a small creature. "Interesting," Commander Thrix observed, also watching the confrontation. "The Zentorians grow bolder each year. Soon they will challenge even the Draconian Empire." His tone suggested he would welcome such a challenge. The Zentorian leader drew what appeared to be an energy blade, its purple glow casting eerie shadows across the trading hall. Other species began backing away, some calling for their ships to prepare for immediate departure. The Alari delegation huddled together, their feathers ruffling in terror. "You will serve as an example," the Zentorian announced loudly, ensuring his words carried across the hall. "Let all who hear this understand that the Zentorian collective does not tolerate competition." Marcus felt Shadow tense beneath his hand. The cat's purring had stopped, replaced by a barely audible sound that might have been mistaken for normal feline vocalization. But Marcus knew better. He had heard that sound before, though only a few times in the 3 years he had known Shadow. "Perhaps," Marcus said quietly to Thrix, "you would like to see what my pet can do?" Thrix's laugh was a deep rumble. "Human, your small creature could not harm a Zentorian warrior. Their hide is thick as armor and their strength can crush metal." Marcus's smile became more pronounced. "Would you care to make a wager on that, Commander?" The Zentorian leader raised his energy blade toward the trembling Alari. The weapon hummed with deadly power, capable of cutting through most known materials. Around the trading hall, dozens of alien species watched in fascination and horror, knowing they were about to witness either an execution or a miracle. Shadow stood up slowly, his movements fluid and deliberate. For just a moment, something flickered in the cat's green eyes, something ancient and predatory that had nothing to do with the domestic animal he appeared to be. The air in the trading hall seemed to thicken with tension as two very different concepts of power prepared to meet. Shadow's transformation began subtly. The small gray cat's muscles seemed to shift beneath his fur, becoming more defined without growing larger. His green eyes developed an inner glow that had nothing to do with reflected light. Most remarkably, the air around him began to shimmer slightly, as if reality itself was bending in his presence. The Zentorian leader, still focused on terrorizing the Alari delegation, remained unaware of what was happening across the trading hall. His energy blade crackled as he prepared to strike, savoring the fear he was creating among the gathered aliens. Commander Thrix noticed the change in Shadow first. The massive draconian's yellow eyes widened as his enhanced senses detected something that shouldn't exist. "Human," he said slowly, his voice carrying a note of confusion. "Your pet's biosignature is fluctuating." Marcus nodded calmly. "Shadow doesn't like bullies." The cat took a single step forward. That step covered impossibly more ground than it should have, bringing Shadow from Marcus's side to the edge of the confrontation in what appeared to be normal feline movement. Several aliens noticed this impossible physics and began muttering in their native languages. A Kythera scientist near the front of the crowd started taking rapid readings with her instruments. The device in her mantis-like claws began producing sounds of distress as it failed to categorize what it was detecting. "This is impossible," she clicked to her companion. "The creature's energy readings are off all known scales." The Zentorian leader finally struck, bringing his energy blade down toward the closest Alari. The blade met unexpected resistance as Shadow simply appeared between the weapon and its target. The cat's small paw touched the energy blade's edge and the weapon shattered like glass, its power source overloading in a cascade of sparks. The trading hall fell completely silent. The Zentorian stared at his broken weapon, then at the small gray cat sitting calmly at his feet. Shadow looked up at the 7-foot warrior with what could only be described as mild interest, as if wondering whether this particular bully was worth his continued attention. What did you do?" the Zentorian stammered, backing away from Shadow. His warrior instincts, honed through countless battles, were screaming warnings that his conscious mind couldn't process. Shadow meowed once. It was a pleasant, ordinary house cat sound that somehow carried undertones of cosmic significance. The Zentorian leader's backup weapon, a plasma rifle, materialized in his hands. These weapons were illegal on the trading station, but clearly the Zentorians had come prepared for violence. The rifle was designed to punch through battle armor and had enough power to level a small building. He fired directly at Shadow. The plasma bolt, brilliant white-hot energy that should have vaporized anything in its path, struck the cat and simply ceased to exist. Shadow sat unchanged, still looking mildly interested in the proceedings. His tail swished once, dismissively. Gasps and exclamations erupted throughout the trading hall in dozens of languages. The Atlantean delegation immediately began pulsing bright patterns of what their translators indicated was extreme alarm. Several Kythera scientists frantically recalibrated their instruments, convinced they were malfunctioning. Commander Thrix took an involuntary step backward, In 3 centuries of life and countless battles across the galaxy, he had never seen anything simply negate energy weapons by existing near them. "Human Marcus," he said carefully, "what exactly is your pet?" Marcus shrugged. "He's a cat. Felis domesticus, originally from Earth. I adopted him from a shelter." This explanation satisfied no one present. The Zentarian leader, his warrior pride overcoming his survival instincts, drew a monomolecular blade, a weapon that could cut through virtually any material at the subatomic level. "Whatever you are," he growled at Shadow, "you bleed like everything else." He lunged forward with the blade aimed at Shadow's small form. Shadow yawned. The yawn created a visible distortion in space around the cat. The Zentarian's blade, along with the hand holding it, simply phased out of existence as it entered the distortion. The Zentarian stumbled forward, staring at the clean cut where his hand had been, though strangely there was no blood or pain. "Where?" he began, looking around frantically. "Where is my hand?" Shadow tilted his head consideringly, then meowed again. The Zentarian's hand reappeared, still holding the blade, but now it was embedded harmlessly in the floor 20 feet away. The warrior looked between his reattached limb and the blade in confusion. Marcus petted Shadow's head affectionately. "He's very good at solving problems without permanent harm, usually." The word usually caused several species to exchange nervous glances. An elderly Vorthon philosopher, whose species was known throughout the galaxy for their deep understanding of cosmic forces, approached cautiously. His crystalline skin was flickering through colors that indicated profound perplexity. "Young human," he said in his melodious voice, "your companion appears to manipulate the fundamental forces of reality itself. Such abilities are theoretically possible, but have never been observed in any known life form." "Shadow's special," Marcus agreed. "Earth cats have some unique traits that most species don't expect." This caused an immediate stir among the alien delegations. If Earth cats possessed reality warping abilities, what did that say about humans who lived alongside them? Several species began frantically accessing their databases about Earth and its inhabitants. The Zentarian backup team, seeing their leader's weapons prove useless and his hand temporarily relocated to another dimension, decided discretion was the better part of valor. They began backing toward their ship, making no sudden movements that might attract Shadow's attention. But their leader, driven by pride and unable to accept defeat, made one final attempt. He activated a personal shield generator, surrounding himself in a protective energy field that could theoretically withstand direct hits from starship weapons. Shadow stood up and walked toward the shielded Zentarian. Each step the cat took created small ripples in reality, visible to anyone watching carefully. When Shadow reached the edge of the energy shield, he simply phased through it as if it didn't exist. The Zentarian leader found himself face to face with a small gray cat whose green eyes now held depths that suggested vast intelligence and possibly infinite patience. Shadow reached up with one paw and gently tapped the Zentarian on the chest. The warrior collapsed unconscious, his shield flickering out. "He'll wake up in a few hours with a new perspective on conflict resolution," Marcus explained to the stunned audience. "Shadow doesn't like to cause permanent harm, but he's very effective at attitude adjustment." Commander Thrick stared at the unconscious Zentarian, then at Shadow, who had returned to normal cat behavior and was now cleaning his paw with apparent disinterest in the chaos he had just resolved. "Human Marcus," the Draconian said slowly, "I believe we need to discuss trade agreements immediately. The Draconian Empire would very much like to establish friendly relations with Earth." Word of the incident spread through the trading station, faster than light-speed communications. Within an hour, representatives from every major galactic power had requested urgent meetings with Marcus. The human found himself in the station's main conference room, surrounded by beings whose species had shaped galactic politics for millennia. Shadow sat contentedly in Marcus's lap, purring softly while the most powerful entities in known space regarded him with mixtures of awe, fear, and desperate curiosity. The Vorthon philosopher, Elder Synthesis, was the first to break the tense silence. His crystalline form pulsed with colors indicating deep thought. "Human Marcus, we must understand the nature of your companion. In 10,000 years of recorded galactic history, no creature has demonstrated such casual manipulation of fundamental forces." "He's just a cat," Marcus repeated. though his smile suggested he enjoyed the aliens' confusion. Earth has millions of them. They're common household pets. This statement caused visible distress among several species. The Atlantean ambassador's bioluminescent patterns flashed in rapid sequences that translated to panic. Are you saying that your planet contains millions of reality-manipulating entities? Well, Marcus considered thoughtfully. They don't all manipulate reality quite like Shadow does. Some cats are more focused on knocking things off tables or ignoring their owners. It varies by personality. A delegation of quantum monks from the ethereal collective materialized in the conference room, their energy forms flickering with concern. These beings existed partially outside normal space-time and were considered the galaxy's foremost experts on cosmic phenomena. Their spokesman, a shifting pattern of light called Probability Zero, spoke in harmonics that bypassed normal translation. This creature, Probability Zero intoned, exists in superposition across multiple dimensional states simultaneously. Such existence should be impossible for biological entities. How does it maintain coherence? Shadow opened one green eye and looked at the quantum monk with mild interest, then went back to purring. Shadow doesn't like to complicate things, Marcus explained. He prefers simple solutions to complex problems. Commander Thrix leaned forward, his massive frame tense with military precision. Human, you must understand our concern. If Earth possesses millions of beings with such capabilities, it changes the entire balance of galactic power. The Draconian Empire alone has spent centuries developing weapons that your pet neutralized with a yawn. Oh, Shadow's not a weapon, Marcus said quickly. He's very peaceful. He only acts when someone's being hurt or threatened. Most of the time he just sleeps in sunbeams and watches birds through windows. Dr. Helix, the chief scientist of the Technological Consortium, activated a holographic display showing energy readings from the earlier confrontation. The readings made no sense according to any known physics. These measurements indicate that your pet simultaneously existed in 17 different dimensional states while maintaining complete physical cohesion in our reality. The energy required for such manipulation should have destroyed this entire sector of space. Shadow stretched luxuriously in Marcus's lap, apparently enjoying the attention, despite not understanding the technical details of his impossibility. Marcus petted Shadow's head affectionately. He's very energy efficient. Back home, he mostly uses his abilities to catch mice and occasionally teleport to the kitchen when he hears the can opener. The revelation that Shadow used reality warping powers for mundane domestic purposes seemed to disturb the aliens more than his display of combat capabilities. An unexpected voice joined the conversation as the conference room's central display activated. The image showed Admiral Vexhai of the Void Syndicate, broadcasting from her flagship in the outer system. The Void Syndicate was known throughout the galaxy as the most ruthless criminal organization, with technology that rivaled major governments. Human, Admiral Vexhai said, her scarred features twisted in a predatory smile. I have been monitoring this situation with great interest. The Void Syndicate would pay handsomely for one of these Earth cats. Name your price. Marcus's expression hardened. Shadow isn't for sale. Everything has a price, human. Perhaps you would be more motivated if we took you and your pet by force. Shadow's purring stopped. The temperature in the conference room dropped noticeably. Several aliens activated their environmental suits as frost began forming on the surfaces around Shadow. The cat's green eyes opened fully, and now they held the cold light of distant stars. On the display screen, Admiral Vexhai's confident expression faltered as alarms began sounding throughout her flagship. What? What is happening to my ship? Marcus sighed. You threatened Shadow. He takes that personally. Through the display, they could see the interior of the Void Syndicate flagship beginning to change. Corridors that had been straight now curved impossibly, creating loops that led back on themselves. Crew members ran through doorways only to emerge from the ceiling of the same room. The ship's advanced navigation systems registered that they were simultaneously in 17 different locations throughout the galaxy. Make it stop. Admiral Vexhai shouted, gripping her command chair as her bridge began rotating in directions that didn't exist. Shadow, Marcus said gently. She's learned her lesson. Shadow meowed once, a sound that somehow conveyed both forgiveness and warning. The displays showing the Void Syndicate ship returned to normal, though Admiral Vexhai's crew would spend hours trying to understand how they had traveled 8,000 light years. and returned to their original position in 30 seconds. The Admiral's image flickered off the display without further comment. Elder Synthesis pulsed a deep blue color indicating profound respect. Your companion shows remarkable restraint. He could have easily destroyed that vessel and everyone aboard it. Shadow doesn't like to hurt people, Marcus explained. He prefers to educate them about better behavior. Though I think Admiral Vexhai got the message. Dr. Helix was frantically analyzing new readings from Shadow's latest display of power. The energy signatures suggest your pet briefly converted that ship into a tesseract, then reconverted it back to normal spacetime. The precision required for such manipulation without causing harm to the occupants is beyond our understanding. Cats are very precise, Marcus agreed. They have to be, or they'd knock over too many things while walking on narrow shelves. Commander Thrix cleared his throat, a sound like grinding stone. Human Marcus, the Draconian Empire formally requests permission to establish an embassy on Earth. We believe it would be beneficial to maintain friendly relations with your species. The Atlantean deep colonies second this request, the Atlantean ambassador added quickly, her patterns flashing urgently. The Cathera hive mind concurs, clicked the insectoid representative. Within minutes, every major galactic power had formally requested diplomatic relations with Earth. They were all very polite about it. Marcus looked around the room at beings who had shaped galactic civilization, all now eager to befriend humanity because of a cat who liked belly rubs and occasionally saved the universe before nap time. Shadow, oblivious to his diplomatic impact, had fallen asleep in Marcus's lap, once again looking like nothing more than an ordinary house cat who happened to dream in equations that governed reality. 3 days after the conference, Trading Station Omega-7 had transformed into an unofficial embassy for Earth relations. Ships from dozens of civilizations crowded the docking bays, their crews desperate for any information about humanity and their impossible pets. Marcus found himself fielding thousands of questions. While Shadow napped peacefully, in various sunbeams throughout the station, Dr. Helix had converted an entire laboratory section into a research facility dedicated to understanding Shadow's abilities. The technological consortium's most advanced scanning equipment surrounded the sleeping cat, though Shadow seemed to find the gentle humming of the machine soothing rather than intrusive. The readings are consistent, Dr. Helix reported to the growing council of alien representatives. This creature exists in quantum superposition, while maintaining classical behavior. It's as if the fundamental laws of physics have agreed to be flexible around him. Commander Thrix studied the data with military precision. Our intelligence division has been analyzing Earth's historical records. Humans have lived with these creatures for thousands of years, yet their scientific literature contains no mention of reality manipulation capabilities. Marcus, who was present for the briefing, shrugged casually. Most people don't notice unless something dramatic happens. Cats are subtle about their abilities. Subtle? Elder Synthesis's crystalline form flickered with disbelief. Your companion relocated an entire starship across the galaxy, only because they threatened him, Marcus pointed out. Usually, Shadow's more focused on everyday cat things, like the time he phased through 3 walls to reach a tuna can, or when he temporarily reversed local gravity to catch a toy mouse. These mundane examples of reality warping seemed to disturb the aliens more than Shadow's dramatic demonstrations, a creature that could reshape fundamental forces to catch. Toys was operating on a level of cosmic power that defied comprehension. New voice interrupted the discussion as Ambassador Krill of the Insectoid Collective entered the laboratory. Her species was known throughout the galaxy for their logical approach to problem solving and their extensive database of biological information. We have completed our analysis of Earth's public networks, Ambassador Krill announced, her mandibles clicking with excitement. The results are concerning. Humans appear to share their living spaces with approximately 600 million of these reality-manipulating entities, and they treat this as completely normal. She activated a holographic display showing thousands of images downloaded from Earth's internet. Pictures of cats sleeping, playing, knocking objects off tables, and generally behaving like ordinary pets filled the air around them. Look at this image, Ambassador Krill said, focusing on one particular photo. This creature is clearly existing in 17 dimensions simultaneously while appearing to sleep in a cardboard box. The human who posted this image has labeled it Mr. Whiskers being adorable. Shadow opened one eye and looked at the hologram with mild interest. As if recognizing a kindred spirit, Dr. Helix enhanced another image, showing a cat sitting on a computer keyboard. The quantum analysis of this photograph indicates that the cat is simultaneously pressing all keys and no keys, creating a perfect superposition state. The human's comment reads, "Mittens is helping with my homework again, LOL." "What does LOL mean?" Commander Thrix asked. "According to our translation algorithms," Ambassador Krill replied, "it means laughing out loud. The humans find their pets' reality manipulation amusing." This revelation caused considerable discussion among the alien representatives. A species that found cosmic forces amusing was either completely insane or operating on a level of understanding that transcended normal comprehension. Elder Synthesis pulsed thoughtfully. "We must consider the possibility that humans have developed alongside these beings for so long that they have become adapted to their presence. Perhaps humans themselves possess abilities we haven't recognized." Marcus looked uncomfortable for the first time. "Well, I suppose some humans do notice things that others don't, but it's not like we can bend reality or anything." "Yet you show no surprise when your companion manipulates fundamental forces," Dr. Helix observed. "You react as if such displays are normal." "Shadow's always been special," Marcus admitted. "Even by cat standards. When I adopted him, the shelter mentioned he had some unusual behaviors. They said previous owners returned him because he had a habit of making their problems disappear. This casual mention of problem solving through reality manipulation caused several aliens to exchange alarmed glances. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from the station's traffic control. Captain Zethmore, a grizzled Vorthon with centuries of experience managing interstellar commerce, appeared on the main display with obvious agitation. "We have a situation," Captain Zethmore announced. "A hive fleet from the Destroyer Collective is approaching this sector. They're demanding we surrender the reality-manipulating creature for study. If we refuse, they threaten to sterilize this entire system." The Destroyer Collective was known throughout the galaxy as the most militarily advanced civilization in existence. Their hive fleets contained enough firepower to obliterate entire solar systems, and they had never been defeated in direct combat. Commander Thrix stood immediately, his combat instincts engaging. "How long until they arrive?" 6 hours, Captain Zethmore replied grimly. "They're already broadcasting surrender demands to all ships in the system. Most civilian vessels are evacuating." Marcus looked down at Shadow, who had woken up and was now sitting alertly in his lap. The cat's green eyes held that inner glow again, and his ears were perked forward with interest. "They want to take Shadow?" Marcus asked quietly. "The Destroyer Collective believes your companion represents a weapon that could threaten their supremacy," Elder Synthesis explained. "They eliminate all potential threats as a matter of policy." Shadow's purr took on a different tone, lower and somehow more complex. The sound seemed to resonate with frequencies that normal ears couldn't detect. Dr. Helix's instruments began registering massive energy fluctuations centered around the cat. "The readings are off the scale again. Whatever your pet is considering, it's going to be significant." Marcus petted Shadow's head gently. "Easy, boy. Let's see what they want before you do anything dramatic." Shadow meowed once, but the sound carried undertones that made several aliens step backward involuntarily. It was the sound of something vast and patient acknowledging a minor annoyance. "Perhaps," Commander Thrix said carefully, "we should consider evacuation. The Draconian Empire's fastest ships could have you and your companion safely away from here before the hive fleet arrives." Marcus shook his head. "Shadow doesn't like running from bullies, and frankly, I'm getting tired of everyone trying to threaten him." Shadow began cleaning his paw with deliberate care, but the simple action created visible ripples in space around him. The laboratory's instruments struggled to measure something that was simultaneously happening and not happening, existing and not existing. "What is he doing?" Ambassador Krill asked nervously. Marcus smiled, but his expression held a hint of something that made the assembled aliens remember that humans and cats had been partners for thousands of years. Shadow's getting ready to explain to the Destroyer Collective why threatening Earth pets is a bad idea. The Destroyer Collective's hive fleet emerged from hyperspace with the precise coordination that had made them the galaxy's most feared military force. 17 massive warships, each the size of a small moon, arranged themselves in perfect attack formation around Trading Station Omega-7. Their dark hulls absorbed light, creating patches of absolute darkness against the star field. On the station's observation deck, Marcus stood with representatives from every major galactic power, watching the approaching fleet through the reinforced transparent aluminum. Shadow sat calmly on the deck's railing, tail swishing gently as he observed the massive ships with apparent interest. Each of those vessels carries enough firepower to crack a planet, Commander Thrix said grimly. The Destroyer Collective has never retreated from battle. The station's communications array crackled to life with an incoming transmission. The image that appeared showed Hive Mind Primary, the collective consciousness that directed the Destroyer Collective's military operations. Its appearance was unsettling even by galactic standards. A fusion of organic and mechanical components that constantly shifted and reconfigured. Primitive beings of this station, Hive Mind Primary spoke in perfect unison from thousands of voices. Surrender the reality manipulation entity immediately. This is not a negotiation. Compliance will result in your continued existence. Resistance will result in total annihilation. Marcus stepped forward. Hello, Hive Mind Primary. I'm Marcus Chen, and this is Shadow. He gestured to the cat, who meowed pleasantly in greeting. The slight delay in the transmission made Hive Mind Primary's response feel ominous. Human designation Marcus Chen. You will deliver the entity immediately, or watch your species' first contact with galactic civilization end in extinction. That's not very neighborly, Marcus replied calmly. Shadow's not going anywhere he doesn't want to go. As if understanding the conversation, Shadow stood up and stretched luxuriously. The simple action sent visible shockwaves through space-time, causing the nearby stars to flicker momentarily. Aboard the flagship of the Destroyer Collective, alarms began sounding as their sensors detected energy readings that broke their measurement scales. Hive Mind Primary's 1,000 voices spoke in unison with growing agitation. Impossible readings detected. Entity's energy signature matches theoretical calculations for universe creation forces. Dr. Helix, who had been monitoring Shadow's biosigns throughout the encounter, looked pale. His quantum state is shifting again, but this time the fluctuations are affecting local spacetime. If he continues escalating, he might accidentally destabilize this entire star system. Shadow, Marcus said gently, try to keep it small scale. Shadow looked at Marcus with an expression that clearly conveyed, but they're being unreasonable. Then the cat turned his attention back to the hive fleet and began what appeared to be normal grooming behavior. The results were immediate and impossible. The 17 warships of the Destroyer Collective found themselves suddenly arranged in a perfect circle, nose to tail like kittens chasing each other around a cosmic cat toy. No matter how they fired their engines or activated their maneuvering thrusters, they remained locked in this formation, slowly rotating around an invisible center point. What is happening? Hive Mind Primary demanded, its collective voices now carrying notes of panic. Our ships are not responding to navigation commands. Shadow's playing with you, Marcus explained patiently. Cats like to bat at things that move around too much. Your aggressive positioning probably reminded him of mice scurrying around. The Hive fleet tried to break formation by firing their weapons, but the energy beams curved impossibly in space, creating beautiful light patterns that sparkled like laser pointers. Shadow watched these displays with obvious delight, occasionally batting at particularly interesting light patterns with his paw, causing entire weapon systems to reconfigure themselves into more aesthetically pleasing arrangements. Elder Synthesis observed the spectacle with growing awe. He's treating their entire fleet like toys. The precision required to manipulate 17 capital ships without harming their crews while simultaneously creating coherent light displays suggests intelligence on a cosmic scale, Commander. Thrix was running tactical analyses on his personal display. Those ships are moving in formation at velocities that should tear them apart from gravitational stress. Yet their crews report normal conditions aboard. He's somehow isolated each ship in its own stable space-time bubble. Hive Mind Primary's desperation was evident as its collective voices began speaking over each other. We demand immediate release. The Destroyer Collective has never been defeated. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Shadow paused in his play and looked directly at the transmission display. For a moment, his green eyes held depths that suggested vast cosmic intelligence observing insignificant specks of matter making noise. Then he meowed once. The meow was translated simultaneously by every translation device on the station, all producing the same message. Be quiet. You're disturbing my nap time. The effect on the Hive fleet was immediate. All 17 ships suddenly stopped their rotation and found themselves gently deposited in a neat line, facing away from the trading station. Their weapon systems had been completely disabled, but not damaged, simply convinced that they were now advanced massaging devices for the crew's relaxation. Our weapons, hive mind primaries' voices were now barely whispers of confusion. They are providing therapeutic back rubs to our warriors. Shadow's very considerate, Marcus said. He believes that beings who are too aggressive probably need stress relief. Dr. Helix was frantically recording everything. He's rewritten the fundamental programming of their weapons at the molecular level, converting destructive energy into beneficial biophysical stimulation. The technological precision required is beyond anything in our theoretical understanding. Aboard the Destroyer Collective flagship, thousands of warrior drones were experiencing their first massage in millennia of combat existence. Many of them were making pleased humming sounds as advanced weapon systems gently worked out the tension in their combat-stressed muscles. Hive Mind Primary appeared on the display again, but its posture was noticeably more relaxed. Several of its mechanical components were now purring contentedly. This collective has never experienced such pleasant sensations. Perhaps aggressive expansion is not the optimal strategy for cosmic happiness. Ambassador Krill clicked her mandibles in amazement. He's reprogrammed their entire collective consciousness toward peaceful behavior through therapeutic manipulation. Shadow, satisfied with his work, curled up in a sunny spot on the observation deck and began purring. The sound resonated through space, creating a gentle harmony that made everyone within several light years feel inexplicably content. Marcus petted Shadow's head proudly. Good boy. That's how we handle bullies, with kindness and strategic reality adjustment. Hive Mind Primary's final transmission was almost dreamy in its contentment. The Destroyer Collective withdraws its demand for the entity. We believe. We require further study of these therapeutic massage protocols. Perhaps we shall establish a wellness center on our homeworld. As the Hive fleet departed, their ships moving in a peaceful formation while their crews enjoyed unprecedented relaxation, the aliens on the trading station stared at Shadow with new understanding. This wasn't just a pet that could manipulate reality. This was a being capable of fundamentally changing the nature of entire civilizations through the simple application of cosmic kindness. In the weeks following the Destroyer Collective's peaceful transformation, Trading Station Omega-7 became the unofficial capital of galactic civilization. Representatives from species that had never communicated before now gathered regularly to discuss the implications of Earth's impossible pets. The station's main conference hall had been expanded 3 times to accommodate delegates from every known civilization. Shadow had become something of a celebrity, though he seemed completely uninterested in his fame. He spent most of his time napping in various locations throughout the station, occasionally accepting treats from alien visitors who approached with the reverence usually reserved for cosmic deities. Dr. Helix had established a permanent research facility dedicated to understanding not just Shadow, but the broader implications of Earth's relationship with reality-manipulating cats. Her latest findings were being presented to the Galactic Council's emergency session. After extensive analysis, Dr. Helix announced to the packed auditorium, "We believe we have uncovered the truth about Earth cats. They are not originally from Earth." This revelation caused immediate uproar among the delegates. Marcus, sitting in the front row with Shadow purring in his lap, looked genuinely surprised. According to quantum archaeological data, Dr. Helix continued, cats first appeared on Earth approximately 12,000 years ago, with no evolutionary predecessors. They simply began existing alongside humans, as if reality itself decided they belonged there. Elder synthesis pulsed with deep contemplation colors. Are you suggesting that these creatures chose Earth as their home? More than that, Dr. Helix replied. We believe cats are actually cosmic gardeners, beings responsible for maintaining stability in young civilizations. Earth was selected as a suitable planet for nurturing a species that could eventually join the galactic community. Commander Thrix leaned forward. You mean humans were being prepared? Consider the evidence, Dr. Helix activated a holographic display showing human history. Throughout human development, cats have been present at every major cultural advancement. Ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, civilizations that would eventually produce spacefaring technology all had strong relationships with cats. Ambassador Krill's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. This would explain why humans show no fear when observing reality manipulation. They have been conditioned over millennia to accept cosmic forces as normal domestic behavior. Marcus looked down at Shadow, who was now awake and watching the presentation with apparent interest. Is that true, Shadow? Are you some kind of cosmic gardener? Shadow meowed once, which every translator in the room interpreted as obviously. The casual confirmation of his cosmic nature seemed to amuse rather than intimidate the cat. He began cleaning his paw with the same care he always showed, though now everyone understood that this simple action was probably maintaining the structural integrity of local spacetime. A new voice interrupted the discussion as the chamber's main display activated. The image showed an elderly human woman with kind eyes and silver hair, broadcasting from what appeared to be a small apartment on Earth. She was holding an orange tabby cat that looked remarkably ordinary, except for eyes that held the same cosmic depth as Shadow's. "Hello. Dear?" the woman said cheerfully, addressing Marcus directly. "I'm Mrs. Henderson from the Cosmic Cat Rescue Society. I see you've been having some adventures with Shadow." The entire Galactic Council stared at the display in stunned silence. The revelation that Earth had an organization specifically for cosmic cats was almost too much to process. "Mrs. Henderson?" Marcus managed to say. "There's a Cosmic Cat Rescue Society?" "Oh yes, dear," she replied, scratching her tabby's chin. "We've been operating for over 60 years. My Mittens here is our Director of Interdimensional Affairs. We've been waiting for the right time to make contact with our galactic neighbors." The tabby cat in her arms yawned, and several stars in nearby systems briefly shifted to more aesthetically pleasing positions. You knew?" Commander Thrix asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of course, dear," Mrs. Henderson said. "Cats have been preparing humanity for galactic citizenship for thousands of years. We just needed to wait until we found someone brave enough to take a cosmic cat into space." She smiled proudly at Marcus. "Shadow chose you very carefully." Elder Synthesis's crystalline form was cycling through colors of amazement. "Your entire species has been aware of this?" "Well, not everyone," Mrs. Henderson admitted. "Most people think cats are just adorable pets who happen to occasionally defy physics. But those of us who work closely with them know the truth. Cats are the universe's way of making sure young civilizations develop wisdom, along with technology." Dr. Helix was frantically taking notes. "How many cosmic cats exist on Earth?" Mrs. Henderson consulted a tablet with the efficiency of someone who managed impossible logistics daily. "Currently, we have approximately 600 million cats in active service, with another 200 million in training or retirement. Each one is assigned to specific humans or families to provide guidance and reality stability." The numbers were staggering. Earth apparently hosted nearly 1 billion cosmic entities whose job was to maintain civilization's development, while appearing to be adorable house pets. The purring, Ambassador Krill suddenly realized, the purring maintains harmonic stability in local spacetime. That's why humans find it soothing. "Exactly right, dear," Mrs. Henderson confirmed. "Purring resonates at frequencies that promote both biological healing and dimensional stability. It's very efficient." Shadow stretched and jumped onto the conference table, walking calmly to the center where all the alien delegates could see him clearly. He sat down with perfect posture and meowed once. Every translator in the room produced the same message. "Graduation time." Mrs. Henderson beamed from the display. "Shadow believes humanity is ready for full galactic citizenship. The fact that you've all gathered here peacefully despite your species' differences proves that our work has been successful." Commander Thrix stood slowly. "You mean all of this? The trade negotiations, the diplomatic meetings. This was all part of your plan?" "Oh no, dear," Mrs. Henderson laughed. "Cats don't make plans. They just make sure that when the time comes, everyone makes good decisions. The rest was up to all of you." Shadow began purring, but this time the sound was different. It carried harmonics that seemed to resonate through every being present, creating a sense of connection and understanding that transcended species barriers. For a moment, every delegate in the chamber could sense the thoughts and emotions of every other being present. creating a unity of purpose that felt both natural and profound. This, Elder Synthesis said in wonder, is how galactic civilization is supposed to work. Not through conquest or trade agreements, but through genuine understanding. That's the lesson, Mrs. Henderson confirmed. And now that you've learned it, cats can start being more open about their abilities. Shadow won't have to pretend to be an ordinary pet anymore. Shadow meowed what might have been either agreement or mild protest at having been called ordinary. As the session concluded, delegates from across the galaxy began making plans not for trade deals or military alliances, but for cultural exchange programs and collaborative scientific research. The presence of Shadow and the knowledge of Earth's cosmic cat population had fundamentally changed how they viewed cooperation and conflict resolution. Marcus petted Shadow's head as they prepared to return to Earth. "So what happens now, boy?" Shadow purred and rubbed against Marcus's hand, then looked up with eyes that held starlight and infinite patience. His message was clear without need for translation. Now the real work begins. 6 months after the galactic revelation, as historians were already calling it, the universe had become a remarkably more peaceful place. The new Earth embassy on Nexus Prime, the galaxy's political capital, was unlike any diplomatic facility ever constructed. Its unique feature was a large sunny garden where 24 cats lounged in various states of relaxation, while casually maintaining the stability of local spacetime. Marcus, now Earth's official ambassador to the Galactic Council, was giving a tour to a delegation of young beings from newly contacted civilizations. Shadow padded beside him, still preferring to appear as an ordinary house cat despite his well-known cosmic nature. The key to successful diplomacy, Marcus was explaining to a group of eager young aliens, is understanding that every species has something valuable to contribute. Even the smallest being can have an enormous impact on galactic civilization. A young Cathera named Zix raised her foreleg. "Ambassador Marcus, is it true that humans didn't know their pets were cosmic entities?" Marcus smiled. "Most humans still don't think about it directly. We just know that cats make everything better. It's only recently that we've started understanding the technical details. In the garden, an orange tabby named Professor Whiskers was demonstrating quantum mechanics to a fascinated group of Atlantean physics students by casually walking through solid objects while somehow remaining completely visible and pettable. The students were taking detailed notes on what they observed, though their professors had warned them that cat physics didn't always translate to other applications. Elder Synthesis, who had become something of a regular visitor to the embassy, approached Marcus with his usual thoughtful demeanor. "Ambassador, we have received the latest reports from the former destroyer collective territories. Their conversion to a therapeutic services civilization is proceeding remarkably well." "How are they adapting?" Marcus asked. "Better than anyone expected," Elder Synthesis replied, his crystalline form pulsing with amusement colors. "Their former war fleets now operate the galaxy's most successful stress relief centers. Hive Mind Primary has developed quite a reputation for deep tissue massage therapy." Shadow looked up from where he was supervising a small kitten who was accidentally creating pocket dimensions while chasing a butterfly. The kitten, on loan from Earth's Cosmic Cat Training Academy, was still learning to control his reality manipulation abilities. Commander Thrix materialized in the garden, using the Draconian Empire's new diplomatic transport system, a technology they had developed specifically for visiting Earth's cat-friendly spaces. His massive frame looked somewhat incongruous next to the delicate garden setting, but his expression was remarkably relaxed. "Ambassador Marcus," he rumbled, "I bring greetings from the Draconian homeworlds. Our cultural exchange program with Earth has exceeded all expectations." "How so?" Marcus asked, settling onto a bench while Shadow claimed his lap with typical feline authority. "We have established cat-human friendship centers on 17 planets," Commander Thrix explained. "Draconian warriors are discovering that caring for small, purring beings provides excellent emotional balance after centuries of focusing solely on combat efficiency." Dr. Helix approached the group, carrying a tablet displaying her latest research findings. "The psychological benefits are measurable across all participating species," she added. "Civilizations that have adopted Earth cats report decreased aggression, improved problem-solving abilities, and enhanced emotional intelligence." A soft chime from the embassy's communication system announced an incoming priority message. The main display showed Mrs. Henderson, still broadcasting from her cozy apartment on Earth, now serving as the unofficial liaison between Earth's cat population and galactic civilization. "Hello, dears," Mrs. Henderson said cheerfully. "I wanted to update you on our latest placement program. We've successfully introduced cats to 47 new civilizations this month. The quantum monks have been particularly receptive. Apparently cats exist in enough dimensional states simultaneously to make excellent meditation partners." Shadow purred approvingly, the sound creating gentle ripples in the garden's fountain that somehow made the water flow in perfect mathematical spirals. "Any challenges?" Marcus asked. "Well," Mrs. Henderson consulted her notes. "The silicon-based collective was initially concerned that cats might interfere with their crystalline growth patterns, but it turns out that purring at the right frequency actually helps their crystal formations develop more efficiently. They've requested an additional 50 cats for their mineral gardens." Ambassador Krill, who had arrived during the conversation, clicked with amusement. "The Insectoid Collective has also submitted a request for cats. Our hive minds find that having small independent beings around helps us appreciate individual consciousness more fully." As the afternoon progressed, more representatives arrived to share updates from their territories. The Void Syndicate had disbanded entirely, with former Admiral Vexhai now operating a successful pet therapy clinic. The Technological Consortium had developed new healing technologies based on studying purr frequencies. Even the most isolated civilizations were reaching out to establish peaceful contact, drawn by stories of the small Earth beings who could solve any problem with sufficient application of cosmic kindness. Shadow stretched luxuriously and jumped down from Marcus's lap, walking to the center of the garden where all the visitors could see him. He sat with perfect posture and looked around at the assembled representatives from dozens of worlds, his green eyes holding their familiar depths of infinite patience and cosmic wisdom. He meowed once. Every translator produced the same message: "Mission accomplished." But then Shadow added something new. A second meow that carried undertones of anticipation and possibility. The translation appeared on every display simultaneously. "Phase 2 begins now." Marcus looked down at Shadow with sudden realization. "There's more, isn't there?" This was just the beginning. Shadow purred and rubbed against Marcus's leg, then looked up with an expression that was distinctly cat-like in its smugness. His message was clear without need for translation. Humans and cats together had just solved the problem of galactic peace. Now it was time to see what they could accomplish among the stars. Mrs. Henderson's voice came through the communication system with obvious pride. "Oh yes, dear. Peace was just the first lesson. Now that everyone's getting along, we can start working on the really interesting projects. I believe there are several other galaxies that could benefit from some Earth-style diplomacy." Elder Synthesis pulsed colors of profound excitement. "You mean this is expandable to other galactic clusters?" "Cats are very ambitious," Mrs. Henderson replied. "And humans are excellent at making friends. Together I think they can bring peace to the entire universe, one purr at a time." As the day ended and the various delegates returned to their ships, the garden fell quiet except for the gentle sound of multiple cats purring in harmony. The sound resonated through space, carrying messages of peace and possibility to distant worlds that had not yet learned that the smallest beings often hold the greatest power to change everything. Shadow settled into his favorite sunny spot and closed his eyes, dreaming of galaxies yet to visit and civilizations yet to meet. After all, the universe was vast, and there were always more problems that could be solved with the right combination of cosmic wisdom and strategic cat behavior. The age of galactic peace had begun, one purr at a time, and this was only the beginning of humanity and cats' greatest adventure together among the stars.